who are you a battery charger for? Because that's when a team becomes significant. Because we're battery chargers for each other. It's not just, oh, all the drama in my life, and I need you to help me get through this. We're in this thing together. Accountability, huge. And it goes back to the relationships. Accountability is the internal accountability. It's holding each other responsible as team members. When I say this, as a coach, sure, my teams had some discipline problems through the years. They had very few discipline problems. I could count them on one hand when there was a coach nearby. Most discipline problems happen once, in a club on a Saturday night, whatever it may be. But what I found through the years is when there was a discipline problem, there was probably a teammate or several teammates very close by. We started tackling the problem from the internal, positive peer pressure that would stop a teammate from doing something that they knew was wrong, but they needed someone to stop them for the good of the team. That took us that was about the 4th year of the model when we first started getting that. That's when I knew that we were taking another major step in the model. The last word is a sense of community. For years I called it family, and then unfortunately in the States with the high divorce rate, there were a lot of players that you'd say the word family, they didn't have really a lot of positive things. A family to them was dysfunctional. Why would I want to be on a dysfunctional basketball team? I have a dysfunctional family. I thought about it. I learned from them. I was fortunate. I had a beautiful family and a beautiful upbringing. But it's not the case anymore. I've got to change. I've got to meet people where they're at. I talked to players and what they like the word community. A sense of community, coach. That's what we want. We want friends. We want people that we can believe in. All these other things. And then what that makes is a community. They couldn't relate to that middle word being family because there wasn't trust, there wasn't belief, there wasn't grit, there wasn't accountability in any of their personal families. And if you would like any of these, I can't send the actual slides because of copyrights, but any of that material, if you would like that material, I can create a handout with all the words on it. And at the end, you'll see my Gmail account, and just send me an email. Here's the last main thing I'm going to talk about, and I love this, and it seems like everywhere I've gone in New Zealand, this may be one of the things that people remember the most. As leaders, you are always trying to do what? Improve your team, improve your organization. So in other words, there's something with your current situation that you are either not happy with or you know that it can be better. So you're trying to create change. We're change agents. We really are. What you're doing right now and brainstorming about informal sport, wow, that's exciting to me. Because you're trying to capture something and change, but consider the results pyramid. I wish I would have had this when I was coaching. I would have done a lot better because with the results pyramid, if you look at it, starting at the very top, you can see the results. The blue, top of the pyramid. What I did in coaching, I knew exactly what I wanted as results. And I also knew what actions I needed to get out of my players in order to get the results. But at that point in my life, at that point in my career, I didn't know how to dig down deeper to really tap into a much more powerful source. And isn't it something? It's the word that when someone asks me, one word, one message, it comes back to that word, beliefs. Because your beliefs, when your players really believe in something, they put everything into it. When a lot of my players, I'm sure they did, they wanted their playing time. They wanted to stay on my good side, so they gave me enough so they would show me the actions, but their heart was not really in it. You do it. I do it in my life right now. There's things I do, okay, fine, I need to do this, I'll do it. But when it comes to doing this, or doing the other things that I'm doing in my life right now, oh my gosh, I put this first and foremost. I can't wait. And then every day when I go back, my wife will say to me, she says, didn't you just give that same talk today and you're going to give it tomorrow? I said, yeah. She said, well, what are you doing now? I'm making it better. Because I gained something today from the people I talk with that I know I can make this, I can explain it better. Or they gave me an idea that now we'll take it from here to here. We never stop learning. It's that beliefs that keeps us going. Here's how the whole thing works with the results pyramid. At the foundation is experiences. Let's say when I get an 18-year-old university student, at the base, he's had 18, 19 years of life experiences. I have to take into consideration all his home life, his previous coaches, all those things, because what does that do? The experiences foster his or her beliefs. So that next thing is, okay, if I'm trying to create change, I need to somehow get to a point where I understand the best that I can where someone's coming from. I need to really look at, okay, fine, these are their experiences. Doesn't justify their actions, but it makes me much more aware of why they're doing it. Once you get your beliefs, they influence the actions. Then your actions will produce the results. As you work and build teams, please dig down as deep as you can. That's why building cultures of what I call significance is so hard to do. Because you're working with people, you're going beyond the actions, and once you get somewhere where you're talking with someone about their beliefs, you're starting to get someplace. The last thing I want to leave you with, though, is this. Those experiences, I gave the example of past experiences. That's history. What I want you to do is consider every experience that you're providing as a teacher, as a coach, to the people that you oversee. Those experiences are fostering beliefs. I would tell my staff, we needed to always have that pyramid aligned. Everything that we did, whether it's a practice plan, whatever it may be, every experience that we were providing, that had to be aligned with what our belief statements. If I came in and worked with your team, I would want to know right away, what's your team's belief statements? And before one person would stand up and just say, oh, our team is this, I would ask each individual person to say, write your beliefs as far as in this area, the work related. And then compare everyone. Because teams have to be united by leaders with a common belief system based on what the results need to be. In closing, I would like to share this. Formal and informal sport provides an ideal platform to support the healthy, successful development of every child and adolescent. Coaches, teachers, parents, and family all play a vital role. All four can provide children with the behavioral skills, the values, and attitudes they need to face whatever is ahead. By joining hands and working together, by believing in their strengths, and doing all we can to foster these strengths, we can send our teens off into adulthood ready to face the challenges. It's a noble task, and it may feel daunting. By accepting this call to action, we're affirming that the destiny of our country, our aspirations for peace in our world, and our hopes for the very survival of our planet rest on the shoulders of our young people. If we can make this happen, then our hopes for what teens of the world can accomplish are endless. I respect what you do every day. Never stop believing. Continue to make a difference. Thank you.
Just use this opportunity while we've got Ralph. Are there any questions before I summarise Ralph's presentation? And any questions from the floor? Or
are there consequences? So does the team determine the consequences if someone in the team,
Doesn't live up to the standard?
yeah, do they determine the consequences? Or
That's really interesting. It's a great question. And we got to the point with the 27 teams, and every team was at a little different spot. Some of them bought into this whole, I couldn't make it happen. It was a tough 2 or 3 years. Let me tell you this story real quick, and then I'll get back. You asked an outstanding question. I do quite a bit of work with the Ministry of Education and the Singapore Sports Council. I have a 2-year contract, and so I'm in Singapore quite a bit. And my first time in Singapore, they had studied the model. They had sent 50 delegates to West Point my last 3 years. They liked what they saw, and that's how I got down there. I was explaining the model, and I went back to the hotel. My wife was in the audience, and I said to her, "How'd you think it went?" I really thought it went good. I think I was probably just fishing for a compliment from my wife. And she said, "Well, I don't think you told the whole story." And it kind of caught me off guard. She said, "You just got done telling everyone," and I had charts of where we were, and now, 7 years later, this is how far we've come. She said, "You spent all the time on all these wonderful things that happened. You didn't talk about the first 3 years. How tough it was." She said, "I lived with you. I know how tough it was." So when you ask a question, sometimes I have to guard myself from going to the end and saying this beautiful story of how everything was really good with this particular team, how it's a step-by-step phased operation. I call it a phased operation, and you have to be happy with little wins to begin with. If you start with anything, start with core values. Make sure, start with your core values. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where, I said about year 4 with the accountability, that team members will hold each other accountable. What it got with some of our teams, even if a player made a mistake and violated what we called the core covenant. It was taking the core values and operationally defining the behaviors that were acceptable or unacceptable for a team. The players did it. They did it. These are the behaviors that we all sign, and this is us. And our teams got to the point where there was no fooling around when it came to the core covenant. Because we have all signed this, we know what our goal is, and if you see me and you're a teammate headed in the wrong direction, that if you don't stop me, you're just as guilty. We also had to teach our players how is the right way. It's so hard for peers to correct another peer. That was another whole journey, trying to help them, especially with our women in sport, getting them to confront someone. In fact, we had to kind of take that word confront and we changed it a little bit so that they would be able to go face to face and tell someone that you're hurting the team. We got to the point with one of our teams that a player would self-report. If I did something that was against the code or against the core covenant, then in front of the team, in the locker room, I basically I sat in on someone. They had me come in. It was really touching. I mean, they got to the point where they felt that guilty that they let their team down, even though no one else knew it. They had not been arrested. There wasn't anything like that. But they had violated the core covenant, that they would say that in front of their team. I think it all depends. That's where all of you are. You understand your context. You understand your team. You know how to stretch them, but not break them. And there's a way, there's teachable moments in anything that happens. And I think that's where we go by our feel. There wasn't any, I didn't have a lot of rules. I had cardinal principles. I had cardinal rules. My team knew, okay, don't mess with those. And they all believed it. Some coaches like to have a whole list of rules. You got to do it however you think's best. But it's a journey. It's a real journey. Yeah, thanks. That's a good question. Someone else have their hand up? Okay, sure. Yeah.
We may do that because I know that people now have to take their flights. Ralph, just come up here for a minute. Kai, can you please come forward, please? Kai Neckett. Just to conclude, if I can come up here, please. Kai, just to conclude, Ralph, thank you. I never stopped believing. First thing you had us with, which was really good, so never stopped believing. 3 pounder and roundabouts I got out of that. Beware of you on the roundabout, Ralph. Sport transforms lives. We all have a responsibility for our youth of today. The dark side of sport came through. Stats aligning to assaults, confrontation. So we have issues, the same issues in America. We have the same issues here in Aotearoa. Let them play sport for all levels, all abilities, and the combat of super sport flying through the air. It was a good question, Ralph, what young people want. They want to have fun. They want to be with friends, and they want to feel good about themselves. It's about their self-esteem. They don't want to connect with negative sideline input. It doesn't resonate with them. It actually turns them off, and we lose them to sport. Sounds like the role of the RST Collective, sounds like the role of college sports, sounds like the role of Sport New Zealand and the New Zealand Secondary School Sports Council. I think we have a real good challenge and a good stance. I love the 3 C's. Communicate, connect, and care. And I'll stay on care because I think core values, in the whole of our work we do, it always comes back to core values. I think culture will eat strategy for breakfast. I think if you've got the right culture in any place, you'll have a strategy will be the byproduct. Strategy will happen. Good plans will happen. So I'll refer to the Chiefs, and I'm not being too parochial here. But I will refer to the Chiefs. And that team, in the last 2 years, if you have a look at the All Black side, there's only about 2 or 3 Chiefs playing in the All Black team. So what that tells me is that they have got something right here, that they've won back-to-back championship titles because the philosophy on the criteria of selecting the chiefs is to pick good, hard-working buggers. That is the first thing they look at when they pick that team. Are they good men? Have they got good work ethic? And if you can get that right, that to me is about building those core values and standards again as well. So on behalf of us, on our group, that is going to disperse very shortly, I brought our Sport Waikato Kaumātua up here because what we would like to do is something very special. We have a patu or a miri, and that is part of the land we live on. It was a traditional short-held hand weapon in Māori. It is prestigious and it's all about chieftainship, it's all about leadership, and it's all about rangatira. And I would like our kaumātua to present this to you. Right, okay, now that's it everyone. So that's where we now hand you back. We've had you here for a few hours and we've really enjoyed having you here. And yes, understand that. So what we've done is we've had a good understanding about tweets and hashtags, and I now know that OMG, there's also an LMAO, dart throwing, and Oracle won the dart throwing over there again. I didn't check that data of yours. Wine tasting, got 7 out of 9, pretty happy, but probably signals the early stages of alcoholism for me. Research came through loud and clear to young people. Sport New Zealand stats through Roger, and Gary's information to Gary's stats through New Zealand Secondary School. So the information research is really important. The discussion groups, from what I understand, are really powerful. Use those ideas, really use them. Take them back to your management. Youth, I think it's about engagement, involvement, listen and adapt. Kenny, your New Zealand Golf, is about adapting. That was really cool. You know, adapting, evidence-based, you've got the evidence, you've got the numbers, so it's working. So that's a really good thing. If you can get the evidence, that helps. So what are we going to do now? Rolf has provided some really, really good motivation. Dare to challenge your team, your management. I think the status quo in your RST world or your college sport world is probably not good enough. So challenge the status quo. Change is courageous. I think change is really courageous. Link amongst each other to see if there's a collective takeaway that might work. Planning for the RST world starts in February of March. So now is the opportunity to sow those seeds that you've learned here, talk to your colleagues around the country, and see if you can get those new plans into next year's planning cycle. Respective RST youth teams, community sport teams collectively present a stronger channel for a good change, for a good idea, rather than going solo. So if you've got a really good idea out of this, and if you all come together, a few of you RSTs collectively, you can put a bit of asset on management, and that will change, I believe, what the status quo is. To our two keynote guest speakers, to the University of Waikato Professor Dr. Clive Pope, who's not here at the moment, obviously, and Dr. Ralph Pinn from the United States. Thank you very much. Hope you didn't have anything to do with Oracle. Thank you also to our school principals, to Sport New Zealand's Roger Wood and Sarah Anderson. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your support for this event. We really appreciate Sport New Zealand's help. To New Zealand Secondary School Sports Council, Gary Carnahan, thank you Gary. Thank you always for your support in this space. Your input, your experience, your guidance, your influence is always valued. Please pass on our best regards to Des Smith as well. To Waikato Dio, Vicky McLennan, Felicity Joel, what an outstanding facility to hold a conference. Just absolutely perfect. So thank you to Waikato Dio, outstanding for us to be able to be in this place. Finally, to the Sport Waikato team, to the project committee of Jen Parks, Roseanne Murray, Sarah Bassett, Mark McLaughlin, Sonia Inglis, Soria McGall. Thank you so much for your work. Jen and the team, outstanding. Well done. To the Activity Committee of Karen McDonald and Media McGarvey. Outstanding. Well done, guys. Thank you. Keep this on. To the Sport Waikato TV cameraman, Robbie Walker. Thank you for that, Robbie. We have a new strategic plan, and one of it was, what are we trying to do here going forward? And we wanted to try and blend in the uniqueness of the Waikato, apart from being back-to-back champions of Chiefs. But what we tried to do here was, that was one area, it was the land we live on. And the land is special, we're very proud of where we live, we're proud of the river, we're proud of the mountains, we're proud of Kinitanga. And one saying was, in terms of our purpose statement, was, mahi te mahi hei paianga mo te iwi. And it was Princess Tapuia, back in the 50s, the beautiful matriarch of Māori back in the 50s. And she had that saying, and what I'll translate to is, do the work for the betterment of the people. Just get on and do it. And team, you've done a good job. You just got on and did it and run a very good conference. This is our conclusion. We are now to say goodbye. Before we do that, I'm going to pass over to our kaumatua to conclude. Travel home safely. It's been an absolute delight having you here in the Waikato. Haere rā, goodbye to you all, and ka kite anō, the Sport Waikato team look forward to seeing you all again. I now pass over to our Sport Waikato kaumatua, Kaya Nipia, to say a karakia.
Kia ora tātou. E te atu e te ari ki tēnei mau o e whakawhetai e nei kia koe. Tuku mai manakitanga, uri a tātou katoa i tēnei rā. Tau hoki mātou i chaki, manaki, ngā rahi, tō mātou toanga mai i tēnei hui me nahi nei. Māno mātou manaki i chaki, o tātou manewhiri hoki ni ki o rātou whainga, ki o rātou mrāma. Ki o rātou whānau e tatarei mai nei a rātou te hau kāinga. Tuku mai hoki au manakitanga ki o tō tātou ki i a tūhei kia. O te whare kāhuri ki nui tōna. Ture re te atu e te ari ki tēnei tō mātou ni kia koe. Reo me ingo tau tamako i Ukraiti. Amen. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us evermore. Ture kia tau kia tātou katoa, te atu whai o tō tātou ari, kia i Ukraiti na te awa ki te atua. Ka te whiwhinga tahi tangata wairo tātou, ake, ake, amen.
Kia ora. Travel safely, everyone.